So Angela Soumas, you hold a Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition that you got at Manchester Metropolitan University, but you're also a mindset and health coach. So we thought that it would be interesting to have some series of discussions with you as well, parallel to our physical mobility videos that we have done and the life coaching as well, because there's a lot that is going on at the moment, a lot we're hearing from lots of different sources, books, newspapers, doctors, influencers, and especially about diets. And so it's really hard now, I think, for the average person really who just get that information, is not like a scientist, to really understand. 1 year we should all be I don't know, counting calories. Another year we should be vegan. Another year we should be doing keto. Then now we even talk about carnivorous diet, where people just eat meat and that's it. So what I'd like to do today with you really is to help us unravel all this and understand, and also understand some of the keywords that we might hear, but not really grasp exactly what they mean. We hear about diabetes and insulin, but exactly what is that? So this is basically what I'd like us to do today. To start off with this big word diet, what do you think? Do you think from your experience and your background, actually first, I think it'd be interesting to find out a bit more about you and why you ended up studying nutrition. That will help us to understand sort of what led you to make some of your choices later.
I started being interested in nutrition when I was 15, when I was healthy, apparently healthy. I got my first book, Food, by somebody named Diamond. They had a book in those days. It was basically teaching people to eat in food groups, right? And that was the beginning. But then I started cooking for my family, learning how to cook. At that time, we had no idea anything about seed oils, how bad sugar was for your body. It was, baking, cooking. I became an expert in that. And from being a nice, slim young lady, I slowly gained weight. And I would feel like my body's broken because I wouldn't know how to stop it. And you follow the calorie restriction diet, but it wasn't working. I was even nursing at one point 2 of my kids, and at that time they were saying, when you nurse, you burn 500 calories.
So you mean nursing as in you were breastfeeding?
Breastfeeding, no.
Yeah.
2 of them at the same time. So in my calculations, I should be losing weight because I'm burning 1,000 calories. It wasn't happening, right? And slowly I would gain weight, and I wouldn't understand, even though I was reading about nutrition, reading articles, what to do. Anyways, time went on. I kept gaining the weight. I didn't know what to do, so I kind of ignored, because you're raising kids, you don't have time to.
And we should say at this point that you actually have 6 children altogether. Yeah. At that time, you had what, 4?
I started gaining weight in my late 20s. Like after I would have a baby, then the weight wouldn't go.
Yeah, typical.
Right? And obviously the doctors would say, oh, why aren't you losing weight? But I was trying to lose weight, just didn't know what to do. Like, it wasn't working. As soon as you lose some weight, and then you'd have visitors, you'd make something nice, you eat, the next day you go down the rabbit hole, you gain all the weight back and more. So after I don't know, around when I moved to the UK, I decided, okay, I want to do a degree. I looked, what should I do? I ended up doing human nutrition because I'm the most interested in nutrition. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about physiology, anatomy, everything. The part about the diet, what they teach at university is basically the theory of calories, calories in, calories out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's something that from practical experience, it didn't work, but that's what they're teaching. Now, I'm a mature student at on the course. Most of the students there are like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. That's what they're learning. That's the future of this country's nutritionists. That's what they're learning. And I mean, when I was on the course, I already read more about nutrition than whatever they were teaching us. I didn't exactly agree with everything, but when you write your assignments and you do exams, you have to answer whatever they want.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good experience to see how what is being taught at university. I did.
Yeah, I think it's quite important because you can also, from this standpoint, you can say, well, I know what is being taught traditionally, and I disagree with it. These are the reasons why I disagree with it, and I've done my research in a parallel from other sources that are not taught for whatever reason. They've decided not to upgrade their teaching. So yeah, it's important to be able to see it from both sides.
Well, it helped to do that degree because then I'll have a basis to do more research. So, you know, I read all the different aspects of nutrition, and I've tested almost all the diets on myself and on my
So give us an
family.
idea. So what have you tested?
Has been my guinea pig.
What have you tested then?
Well, the latest. Okay, he had blood pressure problems, so we worked on that. And the thing that seems to be working, right, is to not look at losing weight or getting healthier through the calories, but to step back and see food and how it affects your body.
Right.
That food actually is messengers that tell your body what to do when you eat.
Yeah.
It tells your hormones, right? And once you understand that what you're eating is the basics of your cells, like your cells are made up from what you eat. You don't like, we have a disconnect that we eat for fuel, but then nobody really thinks about it. This is basically your cells. What you're eating is making your cells. So if you're eating healthy, and also the other thing that's really skewed is what is healthy. So of course people are confused. They'll tell you, if you watch TV sometimes, a commercial about margarine, it's better for you than olive oil. They'll actually say that in the commercial. Now, they're getting away with it because olive oil doesn't have their own representatives to say to them, excuse me, why are you saying that about olive oil, right? Whereas
so that is basically what we've been told about the saturated and saturated fat, isn't it? Saturated fat versus healthy fat.
Because it's also sponsored by the government. Like the government promotes this idea, so of course people are confused. And the government is promoting the idea, even through the NHS and what's allowed on TV, like commercials. The idea of calories in, calories out. They allow commercials that promote unhealthy foods, like junk food, basically.
Right? And I think it's important. I'd like to add at this point that what you're saying is actually not completely so much on the fringe. There is quite a renowned professor of Professor, I can't remember exactly his title, called Professor Tim Spector from King's College, who incidentally has been speaking on the BBC the other day, but he's been speaking for years, if not decades, about the problems with the recommendations from the government, and said that basically most of the research, because there's no money invested into researching nutrition, there's no money invested in training good nutrition teachers and lecturers in medical school, medical universities. The research is mainly sponsored by the food manufacturers. So obviously, as he said himself, he's done them in the past because he needed the money to do, his own research. But he said, you might find certain things that are quite interesting, but the conclusions, so the science will be there, but the conclusions will not be what the science show, because they will not go along the lines of what the food manufacturer wants to be put out as a message. And the government goes to these people basically to get their recommendations. So they themselves are misinformed a lot of the time. They can't be knowledgeable of everything. They use experts and advisors.
Yeah.
And these are the advisors that they go to. And it's quite a big problem, I find, that, as you say, we are misinformed, but doctors are misinformed as well, miseducated, because he said, and it's true, it's something that is now more or less known, is that doctors in their 6 years of education, they get a shockingly low number of hours on nutrition. What the professor has said was 2 hours on nutrition.
And so people, when we use weight loss all the time, but there's other lifestyle diseases, right? Like there's emergency stuff where you break your bones and you have you get burned, and the Western medicine is great for all of that. They're the best Western medicine for emergency medicine, right? If you anything, they can do so many amazing things. But when it comes to the other side, which is lifestyle diseases, right? The word says it all. It's lifestyle, right? So you have to change your lifestyle. But when we're told how to change our lifestyle, the information is not even 50% correct. Like they just give you a little bit, and then when you follow what they say, you feel like something is wrong with you, right? And even the advice we got at uni, that when you get your patients to write diaries, you should know that most of the time they don't tell the truth of exactly why they're eating if they're not losing weight. So they already put that in your head not to trust your client.
It's true. That's the psychology thing, is that it's very, very hard for someone. Even I follow a food diary on an app, and sometimes I'm thinking, am I under evaluating what I'm actually eating, or over evaluating what is a good thing I want to have?
A lot of women follow the diets to the T, but they're not getting results, and then they don't get believed by their their doctor or their nutritionist, and you can't go anywhere with that.
There's a book, very good book, that I mentioned to you in the not so long ago. I came across. We'll put all the links, by the way, everybody watching. We'll put any resource, book link, or interesting other videos or further research down below in the in our description. So don't worry if you've not caught the exact name. It was Why Do We Eat, in brackets, Too Much? And it's again by a surgeon who does what is it called, gastric bands and that sort of studies. I know you're looking at your bookshelf to see if you have it.
I have this book.
I think you got it. So basically, this is exactly what it says: is that he's seen
by Dr. Andrew Jenkinson.
That's right. And he's just seeing so many patients coming to him and telling him the same thing. I've tried everything under the sun. It does not work for me. Or sometimes it works a little bit, but then it does not work for me long term. There's something else. And he's convinced that the genetic aspect to obesity.
There is something else, but obviously the government doesn't promote it. So you're putting most people want or don't have the time or the energy or the capacity to figure things out. What does work though, and this is not, and a lot of studies are happening now, so it's becoming a problem. What works is not to look at, for example, weight loss or anything else, conquering your diabetes, improving your blood pressure, everything that has to do with your heart. It's food, right? And it's not reducing calories. What does work, it seems to me, even from the research, is to reduce your carbohydrates, specifically all the refined carbs, everything from sugar. Obviously, that's an obvious one, even though in the past they would say, oh, it won't do anything. Sugar, rice, pasta, and brown, white, it doesn't matter, right? If you have a health lifestyle problem, if you have weight around your your stomach, if you have blood pressure, if you have diabetes, if you have heart problems, the solution is not in medication. It's in how you, if you, I mean, you have to take the medication your doctor gives you, but if you want this not to be forever, you need to look at your lifestyle, and you really need to change your diet. And you have to make, and when they say you have to follow a balanced diet, well, what's a balanced diet for somebody who's on diabetes is different from what's a balanced diet for someone who's like normal weight at 20, right? According to them, normal weight, right? Not at some formula. You can't just, oh, it's not healthy. But if you're trying to lose weight, you have to specifically follow certain things. And it does seem to work to remove carbohydrates, which was a well-known fact in the 50s, up to coming up to the 50s. And then the food companies and doctors and all these, I think as soon as the food industry got involved in our making decisions on what's healthy and what's not healthy, everything went pear-shaped. Because people are following the diets, but they're not losing weight, and things are getting worse. UK, America, Canada, Australia, if you look at the statistics, obesity rates are going high, diabetes, heart problems, so many problems.
According to Tim Spector, the UK is very, very close to taking over America in the proportion of obese people to the population. So it's serious. Yeah, very serious.
It's serious, and to me, it seems to me now you have to take things into your own hands until the government gets on board, because things will change things don't change from the bottom down, they change from the bottom up. When a lot of people start taking control, reading, questioning, experimenting, and they'll see the results, right?
Well, this is where people like you come into play, where someone says, okay, I've realized what I've been given as advice is just not working. What I've tried is not working, and I need someone to guide me. And there are people like you who basically you try to dig deeper and not just apply mindlessly the recommendation, and you tailor the approach a lot more specifically. So you said something earlier about the food that you intake affecting your hormones. I mean, how can that happen? I just
you eat sugar, and you're telling your body to do something. You're eating a salad, it tells your body to do something with it. You're eating a steak or a lamb chop or cheese or anything you eat, it gives your body a message, right? It's not just we're not like a tank of gasoline where you just put in food and then it gets burnt. There's, from the minute you eat till the minute it leaves your body, there's chemical reactions happening, and that happens with hormones. So hormones are the ones who are saying, what should we do with this? So basically, when you're eating carbs, you're telling your insulin, it has to break down. Carbs break down to glucose. Any carb, you name it, from whole grain to pancakes from Mazda, they all break down to glucose. So glucose, as we know, it can't stay in your blood. It needs to leave. So your body sends out the hormone of insulin to sweep it up, wipe it up, and put it in the cells, because it's dangerous to have glucose in your blood, right? Because we eat so much carbs and we're always snacking, you always have insulin out, cleaning the blood, right? Now, what insulin does, among a lot of things, is because it's a very important hormone to your health, but one of the things it does, it stores fat. When you're eating any carbs or even a lot of protein, right? You can't not burn it. It's there. You can't be burning fat. It's burning glucose. In order to burn your fat, if we're talking about weight loss, then you need to eat in a way that insulin is not irritated. It doesn't need to come out of where it is to clean anything up. So that's why the keto diet seems to help increase fat, okay, healthy fats. But what we say is healthy fats is not what they're gonna the mainstream tells you is a healthy fat. So what we'll say is healthy fat is olive oil. Avocados are healthy fat. Nuts are healthy fats. Eating double cream is a healthy fat, especially if it's also organic. But let's just talk for food that everybody has access to, right? Meat with fat on it, it's good for you. It helps you. It makes you feel fuller sooner, right? And it doesn't tell insulin to come out. So then your body, once it burns all the the glucose in your liver and in your blood, your body needs energy. So what does it do? It makes the enzymes it needs to access the fat that's stored in your body. I mean, it takes time. It's not like from one day to the next. It's a process, right? The other thing that seems to help is fasting, intermittent fasting, right? You eat from in a certain amount of time all your meals, and then the rest of the time you're not eating anything. So you can get your body a chance to rest and to burn the fat that's excess. Because even if if you get diabetes, they tell you need to lose weight. Well, what you go on insulin, you know, insulin does not let you lose weight. You cannot lose weight if you're on insulin. Obviously, if somebody's taking insulin and they want to intermittent fast and go on a low carb diet, they need to keep in mind that they need to keep their doctors in the loop, because
absolutely,
they have to reduce their medication at some point when their diabetes gets under more control, right? It's good to have a sympathetic doctor, because otherwise you feel at risk. You don't feel safe, right? And anything, even my husband with blood pressure, he improved it by changing what he was doing.
Yeah. And I think this is something even personally I can relate to that, because like you, having children, not being there before the age of 40, I wasn't active at all. If others have, if our watchers have seen my video on Taekwondo, they will understand that my story. But I was conscious that after each child, and I had 4, I needed to lower my weight straight away, lose the baby weight and the pregnancy weight straight away before I had another child, because I could see it around me. It piles on really, really quickly, and it's very unhealthy kind of extra weight for your joints, just your joints, to carry this extra weight. It also doesn't make you a very active mom if you're, but there's other things that I didn't know then that I know now about, obviously, the problem that causes in your heart and, the fat around your organs, etc. So it's something I was quite conscious of. I've tried all sorts of things. And yes, as you said, most of it revolved around lowering the calories. Even recently, I got caught into it. It seems to be such a quick fix. An easy way, but do you remember that I asked you, how come I have lost the weight on the scale? And yes, I've lost some of some inches here and there, etc. But my belly is not gone. I'm still kind of bloated, and I've got like, why can't I have like a flat belly like all these women I see on magazines, etc. And it's you basically, it's all about doing the wrong thing, using the wrong type of removing the wrong type of food, and not feeling so basically wrecking the balance in your body, isn't it?
If you hear someone going on a low calorie diet now, from what we know now, you have to tell them, no, stop. Yeah, they can't do it. It's wrong for their bodies. If you go on down that rabbit hole, basically, you're gonna lose weight at first. But what's happening to you is you're also lowering your metabolism. So you're getting used, your body's getting used to needing less calories, but you can't keep it up because after a certain point, you're going to be forced to eat. Your hormones are going to make you eat. That's why most of the time we eat. It's not because you don't enough willpower and all of that. Most people, our problems with weight and other problems is not because we did anything. We have bad advice. We've been told the wrong things. We've been by through advertising and advice that you get from professionals. It's bad advice.
Yeah.
I mean, babies who nurse, that breast milk is, I believe the number is 40% saturated fat. If it's,
so how can it be bad? Yeah.
How can it be bad, right? I mean, there is saturated fat that's bad for you, the one they make in factories, which is margarine. In order to make it at room temperature, in order to make it like solid at room temperature, they inject it with hydrogen.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it solid, to mimic butter, to mimic coconut oil, right? But it's the worst thing for your cells. So you're giving your body margarine, a fat that's one molecule away from plastic. And your body's going to use it to make your cells. Now imagine your cells are being built, because all our cells are made from cholesterol, right? Like fat. You're giving it that fat. So when your cells renew, they're renewing with this fat that's not even, it's not good. No wonder so many people are at risk of getting ill when their cells are not strong enough, right? You need to eat healthy fats. You need to eat your butter. Yes, you do need to eat butter. You need to eat your olive oil. You need to eat your coconut oil. You need to eat foods that are recognized millennia.
Yes, and I think
who don't have a legal representative.
Also, when you go shopping, if you take a jar of ready-made sauce, there's emulsifiers, there's all sorts of things to preserve and to make it sweet, like this habit of putting sugar in tomatoes. I've never put sugar in my tomato sauce, and I know it's a thing. Chefs do that, etc. Because we're so used to having sweet stuff in our mouth that when it's a little bit more bitter or acid or acidic, we just go, oh, there's something wrong with it. No, this is how it's supposed to be. But as a French person, I have less difficulty accepting butter, red meat, olive oil to a certain extent, depending on which region you come from. What was the other thing you mentioned? Cream. Because, for instance, if I go back to my youth, because I left France when I was 24, so I'd spent most of my youth and early adulthood there. A standard healthy meal is a nice, oh my god, I'm just even like juicing it, a nice juicy steak, beef steak, with once it's fried in butter, not in olive oil. We always say fry animal fat with animal fat. Animal protein, sorry, with animal fat. If you do vegetables, you can use olive oil, or other oil. But if you some say you shouldn't really heat up olive oil, which I agree with.
No, you shouldn't.
But say you do your vegetables, you add. But if you fry animal protein, you do it in animal fat. So steaks would always be done in quite a lot of butter. Then you remove it, and you can add a bit of vinegar to get the little bits that stuck to the pan. You add your butter, you add your cream, and that's your sauce. With it's no rice, there's no potatoes, chips. What do we have with it? A big plate of green beans or spinach with. I didn't really like it though very much, but there's other ways.
You would love it.
Presenting spinach to make it a little bit more palatable, but a green beans or a big mixed lettuce, salad. What else do we have? Would we have with it? No, there wouldn't really be necessarily starchy food with it. There might be maybe a bit of potato or pure mashed potato, maybe a bit, but really limited amount. The main thing on your plate would be your big steak. I know it can be more expensive for people to do that. It's not necessarily feasible, but we didn't have this every day. We had this maybe once a week or once every 10 days. And the other days would be other kind of protein with a bit of starch and a lot of greens. And that is, if people ask what's a French food, that's what it is, really. French, typical French meal would be that. Quite separate, but with a lot of fat and protein.
We've been, I wouldn't say a nation because it's happening all over the world, right? People have been convinced to let go of their traditional foods and to eat foods that are made in a factory.
Yeah.
That's true for breast milk, to give babies formula. So you're setting them up for health problems when you give them formula. Now, formula was originally made for, it was something that was for sometimes for people.
Exceptional cases.
Who maybe didn't have, their mom could nurse, or it was not meant to take over. No. Breast milk was, and we've been doing it for millennia as a species, right? We've survived up to now from that. If we formula, I don't know how old it is. It's about 100 years old, or
something like
so. And we see the health problems, right? I mean, the history of how the manufacturers have turned a traditional food, made it the bad guy, and then offered their solution. It went from coconut oil, and they made it the bad guy, and then they offered their soybean oil. They made butter bad. They gave you margarine, right?
We know margarine originally was during First World War, even as an Ersatz, the German word, which means a replacement, because there was no butter available. They had to find something. It wasn't meant to be the standard stuff, wasn't it?
So
anyway, Angela, so I think
control of their diet and what they eat and think.
So this has been really, really fascinating first discussion with you, Angela, because as everybody can see, once you open that door, it's like it's a universe behind.
When it comes to nutrition,
we haven't talked about calories. What are calories? We're not going to do this today. Calories, are they equal? What are calories? Should we talk about calories and also this idea of should we stop talking about using the word diet, and should we replace it by lifestyle, healthy eating way of, I don't know, a kind of a different terms that would encompass the fact that it's something you set yourself for life, and it doesn't mean you're going to never ever eat anything that is like yummy for your mouth and maybe a bit bad for your body, because occasionally you can, but if you do it every day, several times a day, that's the other extreme. So there's so much things we haven't talked about. The gut, how important the gut is, the gut biome, the good microbes, how you can improve that. So this is really the beginning of a long series where we will look at things a bit more in detail. So that was more of an introduction of the different things and opening the path a little bit without like a hatchet and in the jungle. And now we've seen a few kind of clearings here and there where we have to go and discuss further. So inshallah, I'm hoping that we can do that very soon. So please stay tuned in, subscribe so you get notified, and click the little bell so you can get notified for our next video. You can follow this series if you want to know more. Comment underneath and send us questions. We're more than happy to cover specific questions, not personal questions, and no advice, personal advice. We will not do that. We can do this separately as part of a coaching process, but not on YouTube. So don't ask us that, but contact us. Ask us to contact you. We will put all our details underneath, as you know, always ways how you can contact us directly. So yes, I'm looking forward to our next video. Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Goodbye, everybody. Peace and blessings all, and keep well and keep healthy.